everybody. Welcome to part two of June. So Thea and I were chatting right before this. We're both pretty um, excited right now. So we're bringing this excitement and this just like really high energy to you. Um, we're gonna flow with it as we speak. Neptune is playing, the moon is playing, Saturn's playing. They're all trying to have a conversation with each other. And so we'll start with today. And as we always do, we'll lead you through the days and share with you some practical tips. But before that, how are you today?
I'm very good. I'm very good. It's quite warm and it's quite humid, but I do love the rain. I'm one of those people who really love the sound of rain and just everything of the rain. Um, yeah, I've been creating a lot. I haven't been online as much, but a new medium, new art. So it's been fun to actually use my hands again. I haven't painted for a while, so it's been fun.
What are you painting? What paint are you
Um,
using?
Oil. So there's oil and there's watercolor, but with watercolor, I feel like there's already too much water just going around. I can't really control what's going on in the canvas. So I'm sticking back to oil. And it's been fun. How about you?
I love it. So I just painted yesterday with Navs. After not painting for a long, long time, I was like, I just feel like creating. And I used watercolor. He colored, drew and colored. I used watercolor and I was like, wow, yeah, there was just too much water for me to understand what I was trying to create. But then I've never really played, like I've played a little bit with acrylic. I've never played with oil. Um, but I kind of feel like water is the easiest to temper, if that makes sense, because like acrylic, you can't be like, oh no, I made one little mistake. It's like, oh no, now how do I improv to incorporate it? Versus watercolor, it's like, okay, just add a little more water here, a little more color here. But I love that you've been creating, and I can't wait to see what you've been creating.
I can't wait to show you too. And yeah, I got I got Karina egg shakers.
Which I'm super excited about. They match my shirt.
They do. um, yeah, so with that, I think that's a beautiful way to start with what's actually going on today. Because I feel like with the energy that you are vibrating and like the energy that I'm feeling from you, it's really that. It's all this Taurus action, yummy, yummy Taurus, with Venus in our North Node. And you care to share what's up today?
Yes. Okay. So as we're speaking, we have the North Node conjunct Venus in Taurus. And then we have Sun trine. So conjunct, right? So they're getting each other's flavor. And then we have Sun trine Saturn retrograde, which is they're working harmoniously. Sun is in Gemini, while Saturn is in Aquarius. And then we also have Sun square Neptune. And Sun is again in Gemini, and Neptune is in Pisces. And so the way I'm feeling this is really, how can you, and I've been hearing a lot of this too recently, how can you take up the space that you deserve? Are you trying to squeeze yourself into little spaces? Like, are you trying to, do you have a pouch? Just imagine having a pouch, okay? And having like a bunch of things in a pouch and deciding, should I take this thing out of the pouch? But I might need it. Okay, I'll put it back in, or okay, I'll take it out. Um, and then notice, are you keeping your pouch too small? Is that why you have to deliberate about each thing that you're putting in? Or are you allowing your pouch to be so spacious that you don't even need to think, should I take this out or should I leave this in? You're like, I'm just going to leave this all in because all of this has a role to play in my pouch. Okay, I don't know how that pouch came through, but this is exactly how I'm feeling these energies. It's just like, are you trying to make yourself small to fit into little creases? Or are you finally seeing, wow, I have a voice. Wow, I have a community that I can share my voice with. Wow, if we all share our voices, we can vibrate at a higher level and we can make humanity better. Like, wow, that is wow. And this is taking me back to Reiki. But it's just understanding, like, stop shrinking yourself, start taking up the space that you deserve, and then understand this is Sun and Saturn. Understand, is the community that you're surrounding yourself with allowing you to be self-accountable? Like, are the people that you spend time with allowing you to remember your own responsibility to yourself instead of telling you, no, this is how you need to be, no, this is what you need to do? Because out with the old, like, enough of that, enough of this person told me to do this and so I'm going to do this. More like, what do I feel like is right for me to do, and how can I do it in a way that will help me evolve even if other people don't agree with that way? Because we're unique, we're different, we're not for everyone. Why do we have to do what everyone says that we should do? And then I feel like the Sun square Neptune energy is just super electric and asking us to tune in deeper, like, what's the vibration behind all the words that we use? And this has been recurring, like with Mercury and Gemini, with Sun and Gemini. It just keeps coming back, right? Words are spells. Words are spells. How are you using your words? Because words are spells. And I just thought of this, which is really interesting, is a practical tip could be to find a friend that's your mirror. And that reflects back the words that you use. And so you're talking, and let's say you are having this conversation with this one friend that you've decided is your accountability partner. As you're talking, this friend gets to notice all the words that you're using and reflect them back to you and be like, I heard you say that this is hard, but I want to do this. How about we say, I am so capable of achieving this. It may be challenging, but I am taking on the challenge. Like words like this, it makes such a big difference. And we don't realize the words we're using until we have someone pointing it back to us. I'm going to tell you a little story. So I've been working with 4 girls through this last 1 month where I've gotten the privilege to reflect back all the words that they've been using, because we do it through voice notes, which has allowed me to also be like, okay, because I'm doing this, I also have to notice the words that I am using, because this is embodied teaching. I can't be saying you got to notice the words you're using and I not. But the best part is, because I live with my husband, whenever I'm saying something that's not in line, it's like, oh, but you're not using the nicest words for yourself. How can you switch it? And so I think the goal here is just to surround ourselves, like today's goal, or like this energy goal, is to surround ourselves with community that keep us accountable, that keep us powerful in the words that we use, instead of teaching us to give our power away, or to work with the old way of thinking of Saturn and Capricorn, which is like, this is how it is and you can't change it. No, this is Saturn and Aquarius, which is like, this is how it used to be. If you see a way that's more fit, how can you help humanity adapt that way so that everyone can grow more? How do you feel?
So super beautiful. Super, super duper beautiful. On the flip side, I mean,
Yes.
with Saturn being in Saturn's still retrograde and the sunshine, it may be easier to feel frustrated or constricted or limited. That's why it's so important, like Irina said, it's so important to find that environment wherein you can actually innovate, where you're free to innovate. But when you're not and you're feeling the constriction and limitation, all the opposite or the flip side of what Karina just said, then this is your opportunity to actually find creativity. I mean, with the sunshine Saturn and then squaring Neptune, you have that opportunity to find creative ways to innovate within the constriction and the limitation, which I think is the gift of um, this energy. That is if, again, you're not within that community yet, or you're in an environment where it's pressing down on you to be more responsible, to be more whatever narrative or whatever expectation there is. There is also a probable propensity to be anxious because you're thinking of, okay, I'm not being responsible as per what responsibility looks like for my community, my tribe, my family, or da 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 da. But again, these are air signs. And if we're feeding a particular narrative over the other, I mean, where attention goes, energy flows. So, finding a mirror or really engaging in what the anxiety is trying to teach us versus analyzing the anxiety so that we can get out of it, or with like this helicopter, just allowing the helicopter to pass. And then just again, being in the noise, being in all that air or all that flightiness without forcing yourself, because sometimes it's counterintuitive to tell someone who's already anxious to be like, you can try not to be anxious and do this, da, 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 da. But for the person who's actually in the experience, without having the tools of regulating the nervous system and all these things, it's more counterintuitive to tell them to try to do something versus allowing the anxiety to just flow through. And I feel like with this sun square Neptune, at the end of the day, and sky is loud, um, there is that gift to open up the heart. And because Neptune, for me, how I see Neptune, it's the higher heart. Venus is the lower heart, and and Neptune is the higher heart. This is God connection or source connection or whatever that may feel like for you. But this is an amazing night, an amazing day to listen to music, watch something, like watch a Disney movie. Karina and I are always like, what are you up to? We're not having a good day. We just want to watch a Disney movie. Allow your inner child to play. And listening to where and how you're judging yourself if you're feeding some other thing versus the other, if that makes sense. So a practical tip that I can share for today is just allow what's coming up, especially the judgment and especially the anxiety. Allow it, be in it, and then when you are not, when your nervous system is less frantic, then perhaps we can start, questioning ourselves. So why were we anxious yesterday? What triggered our anxiety? Why were we judging ourselves yesterday? What triggered us to judge ourselves? These, like all those things. But today, if we can just allow the energies to play out, um, especially as Neptune is already in its shadow phase, it's about to go retrograde at the end of June. It's not, it's working, it's, here we are with the undercurrent again, it's working in the background. And the more that we try to put our conscious mind or conscious attention to something that's so subtle, like versus wave and particle, these are waves that we can't see. And if we're trying to see with our five senses, then we're not allowing the energy to work itself out. It.
Exactly. Exactly. And if you're having a hard time connecting to either like what they are saying or what I'm saying, today is also a good day to just go into nature. If it's feeling like too hard to do it, go sit with some plants. And if you're saying I'm not a plants person or I'm not a nature person, you're made of nature. I'm sorry to break it to you. So go spend some time outside, sit, like ground it. All that's required, I feel like, is to ground it because there's so much water, there's so much air, there's so much fire. If it doesn't have anywhere to land, if you're so damn busy, you're just going to get more anxious. You're just driving this whole cycle. So try to just disconnect and spend time in nature, or maybe even put some flowers in front of you, or maybe even just touch a plant for a bit. And I invite you to do this because Venus conjunct North Node is in Taurus, which is an earth sign, and the moon is in Capricorn, which is an earth sign. And so a good way to connect with earth is to bring earth in. Moving on to the 19th. The 19th, we have Venus square Saturn retrograde and Venus sextile Neptune. So it kind of sounds a little similar to the energies we have today, but different because this time Venus is the main player. Venus still kind of feels like the main player today, but Sun is also doing a lot of things. So I don't know. How are you feeling about
Hmm.
these aspects? So we have Taurus, Aquarius, and Pisces all showing up.
For me, how this is landing in my body is being okay with delayed gratification. Because Venus square Saturn, there can be something financial that can happen, like something out of the blue or something from the past that's biting us in the butt because we didn't put in the Saturn work to make sure that the conditions and the structures are um, are in place so that our values won't bite us in the butt. And that's actually what's landing to me. But with Venus sextile Neptune, there is an opportunity for release or an opportunity for energy to actually flow. Um, I'm also getting a vibration of, and I don't know if it's just my network, but I've really been hearing a lot about cybersecurity. And I feel like Saturn retrograde in Aquarius and with a square to Venus is putting that to light even more. Like how secure are our resources really? Or at least our idea of what resource um, is what's coming up for me. But a practical tip here, because this is a lot of fixed sign, Taurus and Aquarius, but there's Pisces and immutability. But with Pisces, there's a certain level of surrender that's asked. And when we talk about financial security and surrender, these are like oxymorons, like they just don't go together. You can't ask someone who's in a survival mode to be like, just surrender and trust in God or trust in source, and we will be provided by mana that's gonna fall out of the sky. That's not it's not realistic. And Saturn is here to remind us that we need to discern what is realistic, but also understand what is ideal for us. Because for me, all the Saturn and Neptune, it feels like a questioning of, is the reality that we know of an illusion? And the dreams that we actually have, the fantasies that we actually hold, is the real reality? But in a we're not in a simulation where we're allowed to actually live our dream life as our reality. So we are in this illusion of whatever illusion means for you. And with this energy of Saturn square, and on the next day we have Mercury sextile Jupiter, we have the gift of mind to discern how can we actually add more fantasy into the reality and just play out the illusion however way without attaching to the illusion or without attaching to the reality, but attaching to our dreams. I mean, because our dreams are ours for a reason. And we are eventually going to find people, Saturn and Aquarius, who resonate with that dream. And as long as we are standing in integrity with our values, Venus, square Saturn, it's going to be more effortless, Neptune, for energy to flow into our dreams and making them real. I hope that made sense.
That made so much sense. So what I was typing is so linked to what you ended up saying at the end of it, which is I said surrender versus illusion when it comes to safety and security. Like, what is your idea of safety? What is your idea of security? And how linked is it to money and currency? Like, what is your currency? Do you think of consciousness as currency, or do you think of money still as currency? Do you feel like you still want to be really rich when it comes to money, or do you want to be rich when it comes to values? Do you want to be, again, rich when it comes to dreams, or do you want to be rich when it comes to um, busyness and all these things that you have to do, right? Because this is part of the illusion. Like, part of the illusion is that you're always supposed to be busy. You're always supposed to be doing something. You're always supposed to be running from here to there. And maybe for some people, it's not an illusion because it's their makeup. But how can you step out of the illusion to know what's real for you? Because what's real is not really real. Whoever said what's real is real. Like, this has been what I've been playing with for the past 1 month, for the past like 2 weeks. Like, who said what's real life? Who said what's normal life? Whoever gave each and every word, and my like head is throbbing as I say this, but whoever gave every word a definition. So many different people gave different words different definitions. So why can't we create our own vocabulary? Who says we can't? We say we can't. And so how can we step out of our way so that we can finally realize what stability means to us, what foundations mean to us when we take away the money story? Because the money story is so loud. And oftentimes that's what's causing anxiety. That's what's causing pain. That's what's causing suffering. But is this really why money exists? Like, for this or for what? So it's just a little invitation. And then it's also, yeah, I feel like this Mercury sextile Jupiter, which is on the 20th, is also just step into your ideal life, live it. You don't need to wait for your ideal life to appear. Live it every morning. So I saw this tip on Instagram. This is the part of Instagram that's great, right? You're able to get really good tips from people that are living in integrity. And so one of my teachers, Ashley Mondor, once said that every morning when she wakes up, the first thought like she thinks of when she wakes up is, what magic am I going to experience in my life today? And I've started doing it for the last almost a week. And it's been magical, because you ever have that feeling when you wake up and you're like, okay, now what? Or, okay, what's it for today? So how can you give yourself that like amazing thing that as soon as your eyes are open, you're like, ooh, what am I going to face today? What's going to be magical for me today? And if you're not into magic, I mean, you're probably into magic if you're watching Practical Cosmic Magic. But if you're not really into magic, that word, then it can be, what beautiful things are going to unfold for me today. Like, it could be really simple, but it's just about opening yourself up, because the minute you open yourself up to receive, you're automatically seeing that you're always receiving. But then when you're not ready to receive, you think that you're not receiving. And maybe that also turns out as anxiety, because you have energy coming towards you, but you don't know how to channel the energy or what the energy is for. And then you're like, oh my God, I have so many things to do. I don't know what I want to do. There's the problem, right? I don't know what I want to do. What is your goal? What is your purpose? Mercury sextile Jupiter. How can you remember what your purpose is? How can you remember what like your deepest self loves to do, and then communicate that, share that, create communities out of that, so that you can step into your ideal life, because you're creating your life. If you're creating your life, that means you can create your community. And they say that you are what is it? You're the sum of the 5 people that you spend most of your time with. And if you're not spending your time with 5 people in a day, you're also the sum of the shows you watch, the music you listen to, the people you chat with, the Instagram profiles that you view most, the Facebook profiles that you're on all day, like all of these, you are the sum of all of these. And so if you're living out a life being like, I don't know why today I feel stressed, I don't know why today I feel like this, you already hear it in the tone of voice, right? So how can you wake up in a way that's okay, another day, instead of, fuck, another day? And that's Gemini. I feel like it's the duality. And of course there are going to be days, of course, because if there are good days, there will be bad days. Of course, if there are days that you wake up and you're like, what magic am I going to face today? There are going to be days that are like, shit. What kind of crap am I going to have to deal with today? But I think it's an honoring that there is so much magic in the duality. Yes, it's painful, but what's life really without the pain and the fun and the emotions and all of this, right? This is the exhilarating feeling that makes life worth it. Is life even worth it without all of this? I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it's worth it?
Hell yes. 1,000 million gazillion bajillion percent. And it's a sextile. So sextiles are opportunities, are pockets of opportunities, but we have to take action. It's
As
not like
Thea likes to say, planets are having sex.
exactly, when planets have sex, that's good for us. But there is action involved, there's friction, and there's heat. There's two people dancing, like Karina said, the duality. And with Mercury sextile Jupiter, we have that gift and opportunity to actually use our intellect, use our communication, use our voices, use our our communication tools. Basically, it's that your computer, your network, whatever it is, to get and receive Jupiter's abundance, to live that magic, because Jupiter is magic. Jupiter is the greater benefic. And if we take action and really use the tools that we have to communicate what we want, going back to the day before, right? When we're actually living in integrity already, the Aquarius, the community, the hopes and dreams of the collective will find you in resonance, because, like energy, it's about resonance and dissonance. And when we're starting the day to actually be in resonance with bliss, joy, love, good, hope, then we are taming our nervous system to be in resonance with that energetic frequency also. This is just energy in motion, which leads us to the next day, Sun entering Cancer, and that's summer solstice. And I love, 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 love summer solstice, because that's the peak of light. In esoteric astrology, it's called the gate of ascension or enlightenment, wherein, if we look at it like astrology speak, Sun is at the northernmost declination, or the northernmost it can reach in its cycle towards the year. And that's like the peak of day. That's the longest day of the year, where the sun's going to appear to stand still for 3 days before it goes back to its southern declination again before the Libra equinox. But how are you feeling? Is there a different kind of enlightenment that you're feeling after Mercury stationing retrograde and well out of shadow, taken that cosmic coffee, that cosmic cacao? It's freaking ready to go. It's having sex with Jupiter. There's so much opportunity for abundance, for luck, for joy, for hope, for dreams, for magic. And then with Sun in the solstice at the gate of enlightenment and ascension, how are we ascending from the past 6 months that we were actually feeling what new learnings, what new identities, what new you are you actually living or stepping into is the gift here. And we have Venus on the same day. We have Venus trining Pluto. And for me, that's like, it's serious business. I value my values. I value my relationships. I'm in this for the deep ones. For the shallow ones, I'm like, okay, I don't have energy for that anymore. But then how deep are you willing to go? And things matters. Everything that's mirroring you can only match you and meet you at the level or at the depth that you are open to go and to be. And so, how can we use the energy of solstice? It's a cardinal sign. Cancer is a cardinal sign, and cardinal signs initiate something, they start something. And with Cancer, it's all about mothering, it's all about security, it's about protecting. What are you protecting? What new enlightenment? What new identity or meaning to values and essence, to mothering and security and protection can you actually hold? Not really birth yet, because it's initiating and it's the first rush of that initiating energy, but there's a lot of energy in the first rush. And that first energy of wanting to protect, wanting to go deep, or having found deeper soul connections or deeper values that we can actually align with, how can we protect that enough so that as the new season goes forth, I mean, this is a new 3 months. This is a new quarter. This is a new season. How can we sustain this new season coming from a place of feminine nurturing? Not so much of the mind. I mean, although we have Mercury and Gemini, and Mercury loves it in Gemini, we have Venus in in Taurus in its home sign and Mars in its home sign, planets are at home. We talked about this in part 1. And Cancer is the sign of the home. How are you at home in your body, in your homes, in your physical home? How, if you're not feeling at home, then how can you feel more at home? So I think for a practical tip, that would be like a good solstice ritual or journal. I can invite you to have. What is home for you? How can you be more at home?
How can you be more at home in your body?
Mm,
I want to add that.
yes, please. Earth sign. You are
And
pulling a
then
card.
so I was pulling a card as you were talking about Cancer, summer solstice, and sun moving into Cancer. And the card jumped and flew to the floor, and you were talking about enlightenment and a new time.
And she's inside a bubble of her
And
own making.
ascension. Exactly. Oh my God, they are. So this is the world card. This is a beautiful card. This is the last card, I feel like, of the zodiac, if I'm not mistaken. And so this is a card of completion. And so this is a time of completion. And so on the summer solstice, how can you look at how far you've come? Welcome to June. Like, we're in June. How can you look at how far you've come? How can you look at everything that you have instead of looking at everything that you wish you had? How can you step into owning what you already have instead of saying, I wish I could have this, I wish I could have this? How could you, I mean, she's just flowing with life. She is just one with, look at her. She's so happy. She's like in the circle, understanding that, yes, she's so happy right now, but then she's going to go back to zero and become the fool again and build a way all the way back to the world again. And that's not an easy journey. There comes death. There comes the hermiting stage. There comes the devil. But she's here right now. You're here right now. So instead of worrying about what's going to happen for the next 6 months, how can you celebrate? Celebrate you, mother you, see you, allow yourself to express you in a way that you've never allowed yourself to express you before, because this will allow you to be seen in a whole different way. And okay, my prompt is something that's coming from a conversation that I had with Nabs yesterday. And my prompt is, how do you feel after you share your emotions with people? And journal about that. And then notice, do you feel good or do you feel bad? If you feel bad, can you ask yourself, are you sharing your emotions with the right people? Are you sharing your emotions at the right time? Because you may think, no, I feel this way right now. And so I'm going to share it with you right now, because you may think, right, that's me doing service to you because I'm telling you how I'm feeling right now. But then when you do that, what happens is tempers flare up. Aries, right? Aries is so loud right now. Chiron is there, Mars is there, Jupiter is there. So it's loud. So instead, how can you, so after you journal and figure out, yes, I do feel nice sharing emotions. No, I don't feel nice sharing emotions. How can you go further into it? Why not? What are you sharing? Who are you sharing with? What kind of emotions are you sharing? Are you seeing yourself in the emotion that you're sharing, or are you sharing the emotion from a place of guilt? Because when it comes down to it, I feel like, right, the duality of Gemini, which of course we're moving into a Cancer sun, but we're still going to be carrying this because Mercury is still in Gemini. And I believe the day after, the day after, no, 2 days after, on the 23rd, Venus moves into Gemini. And so they're both going to be in Gemini. And so this Gemini undercurrent is still going to be loud. But it's about noticing that there are essentially these two, right? There is fear and there is love. So one day, whichever day you feel like doing this, how can you write, okay, in one, on the top of your page, write love, and the bottom of your page, write fear. And then around love, write all the words you use around love. So happiness, peace, bliss. I don't know, whatever you think of when you think of love. And then by fear, write whatever you think of when you think of fear, worry, anger, sadness, whatever it is, right? And then notice in your daily life when you have conversations, which are you pulling more from? Are you pulling from the words that are around love, or are you pulling from the words that are around fear? And the reason I say this is this Venus trine Pluto. It's such a nice gift to transform the life we're living, the beauty that we're sharing, the beauty that we're accepting. Because if we're not accepting the beauty, how are you even going to share the beauty? And yeah, so it's just an invitation to kind of become more aware of, again, the words we're using, the frequencies we're tapping into. With this Neptune and Pisces, we may think that we're not feeling into any vibrations, but the vibrations are so subtle that they're going to have you saying, I'm feeling this way, but I don't know why I'm feeling this way. As soon as you catch yourself saying, but I don't know why I'm feeling this way, maybe that's Neptune and Pisces. Thea, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just gonna harp on that. And I'm gonna bring us back to January when Venus was retrograde and she met with Pluto 3 times when she was in retrograde. So, meeting with Pluto, we were already in that alchemical fires of transformation. This really feels like Persephone being dragged by Hades into the underworld. But what happened to Persephone? From maiden, she actually became queen of the underworld. She became Hades's wife. It not if we're just gonna focus on the death of youth so that a maturation stage can actually happen, how is that alchemy playing out in you, in your life, in your relationships, and things like Venus things, value, security, even your body, how you're actually nurturing your body, how you're working out, the food that you're eating, all Venus things. And now, as we approach June, she is trining Pluto. It's like she is just receiving the gifts from her husband. I'm talking about Persephone medicine here. She is just receiving the medicine from the underworld because she already came from that. And she's like, dude, I can eat you while I'm sleeping. She already ate of the pomegranate, and that's the forbidden fruit, like whatever knowledge that she was able to consume. Again, this is ascension, this is enlightenment time that we're talking about. And then 3 days after, Venus enters Gemini. From the depths of her heart, from the depths of her womb, from the phoenix rising, she is going up to her mind, and now she is free to express what has been repressed no more. So how are you feeling into that words, and how can you embody that with everything that is happening with all the Saturn retrograde and Neptune about to go retrograde? Again, we're being called to be creative and innovative amidst the constriction, the limitation, the fake news, and whatever illusion, deception, and just find the environment where we can thrive. Because this year, it's about thriving within the chaos. We are not bypassing or gaslighting or whatever. There will be chaos, there is chaos, but chaos is essential because rebirth is happening. We have actually rebirth for another death, but we can go through that when we go through that.
Love it. I just want to piggyback onto what I said earlier about, say, I said journal any day, this thing about the values, the love and the fear. Actually, do that the day that Venus enters Gemini on the 23rd, because that's value. That's like values, right? These are all values. And then also, I pulled some cards that I forgot to talk about because I was so excited about the world card. But I feel like this may carry out all through Cancer season because I pulled it with the intention of like the sun entering Cancer. And so what came out was, it's from the Starseed Oracle. Breath of the Cosmos, which is my will to die, my will to thy will. And it's basically just surrendering to the cosmos, right? This is, I feel like, Neptune going retrograde. It's understanding that there are some things that we don't understand. There are some things that will forever remain an illusion. But when we know what our reality is, then we're able to surrender everything else and be like, all right, I know what I want, universe or God. I'm telling you what I want. Now I leave it up to you. Um, and then trust the timing, trust the wave you came in on. And this, I feel like, is such a big Saturn retrograde lesson. Like, remember that time is not running out. It may feel like time is such a trip and we don't know what the heck is going on and how it's June and how it's 5 p.m. as we speak, but trust the timing. I guess I was listening to a podcast this afternoon. It was a Sahara Rose podcast where she was talking to someone, and this someone was a man, and he was saying how like the masculine energy or men's purpose is to serve women's creativity. Men's structure is to serve women's creativity, or masculine, let's make it more neutral. Masculine structure is like its purpose is to serve feminine creativity. And so, how can we start understanding that when we know what we want, when we know what we want to create, or when we flow with creation, understand that we need to basically, again, we're going back to the duality um, and back to understanding that when we know what we want, the universe will help us get it. When we know what we want, when our feminine side knows what it wants to create, then the masculine side will naturally come out and say, here, let me give you some structure for that creation. Here, let me give you a watercolor pad so you can put that watercolor on it, going back to our painting. But I don't even know how I got there. Oh, I got there by thinking that the way that we live right now is very patriarchal. It's very masculine because we're living through linear time. But sometimes it is with the help of linear time that we're even allowed to be, or not allowed, that we're even able to be um, creative. Because imagine if there was no linear time and everything was flowy and everything was creative and everything was do what you want and feminine. It would kind of be a mush. It would just be a mush of creativity and a mush of rest and a mush of surrender. And then versus imagine like total masculine energy. That's like all the Aries going on right now, right? Which is authoritarian. You've got to do this and you've got to go here and you've got to do that and you got to. And so it's how can we trust the timing and understand that there is a time to carry out the masculine while there is a time to carry out the feminine. But at the end of the day, because we're in Earth school, it's all about learning the balance. It's all about learning to bring them both in here. It's all about learning to weave them together instead of saying, I wish the world wasn't so patriarchal, or instead of saying, I wish there was more feminism in the world. Like, by doing this, we're still adhering to one side or the other. We're not bringing about a balance. And the goal here is to bring about a balance because everything at this point is so imbalanced that we've been talking about this for what, 2 years now, that it's like the seesaw has been tipped so far when it comes to like feminism and stuff that it's bound to go this way before it ever becomes this way. But how can we, in the here and now, instead of feeding this side or this side, so we're tipping to one side or the other, we're standing still in who we are so that our communities are also standing in who they are. So instead of, like as Thea was saying, instead of buying into the chaos, we know that we experience this chaos for a time, okay? Not we experience this chaos for like 2 years. We're like, oh my God, I don't know what's happening. No, we experience the chaos for a time so that we're able to pick up our pieces and then create. And then the masculine structure comes in and is like, ooh, I love what you created. Here, let me give you the internet so you can share it. Here, let me give you a website. Let me give you an app, like Saturn in Aquarius. The possibilities these days are endless, but I digress very far. But the point of this was, I feel like part of cancer season's medicine is going to be understanding how to further surrender, um, understanding that yes, time is a trip, but the way time works has some sort of importance. That's why it was even put into place in the first place. And with Saturn and Aquarius, how can we just be more liberal with the way we think of time? And we don't need to convince other people that time is fake or time is linear or time is anything. They can think what they want. And oftentimes, sorry, I'm just picking up on all these different thought bubbles, but oftentimes we try to convince other people, right? No, I think time is like this, so you should think time is like this because this is a better way to think about it. But then actually, if we're just hanging out with people that have the same thoughts and the same feelings, and like you and I, we would have this conversation that would flow because we both feel the same way about it, versus trying to convince someone else. And then you're not only pissing that person off, you're rattling your own nervous system, you're rattling their nervous system, you're starting to question your own beliefs, which, yes, sometimes it's a good idea, but when you're so like set on a belief and it helps you live life, why does anyone else need to stand by that idea? You know, this is the full moon that just went by, right? The Sagittarius full moon, which is, why does everybody have to think the same way that you do? They don't. As long as you're living your truth and they're living their truth, like we're co-living. This is Earth school again. So I don't know, it's just going to be soul growth over and over and over again through all of these deaths and rebirths. But again, an invitation, if you're on the death side, allow yourself to mourn, allow yourself to grieve, allow yourself to take it all in. If you're in the rebirth side, welcome. It's not going to last forever. So revel in it because that's the only way to do life, right? Just embrace it. I went on a really long tangent, so please take it away, Thea.
No, I love it. It actually leads us to the next day where Mercury sextiles Chiron.
Nice.
So Mercury and Gemini sextiling Chiron. Here I am again talking about planets having sex. But again, this is a gift and an opportunity, but we have to take action. And I'm going to say any transits or any movements, any activations of Chiron, if we are in the death stage or even in the rebirth stage where we're feeling really, really tender, everything that we, and then this is just a possibility, what we try to communicate, the values that we are standing firm with, when we try to communicate it with people who are actually holding the opposite, it feels really tender. And it's gonna really feel like an attack or a trigger to the values that you've already discovered, you know, to this new kind of enlightenment and this new identity that you already found yourself in or for yourself after the 6 months of the year. So what I'm trying to say for this day is, it's still Gemini's, Mercury in Gemini, it's still a gift to see things with fresh eyes, right? Our password for this cycle is seeing things with fresh eyes, because this can actually help the wound heal by moving the energy through resolution. And even though we may not find the resolution at that moment because we're deep in the trigger, we're deep in the wound, we're deep in the trying to communicate past traumas and you're already allowing it to move through your body. Should you allow it to move through your body? Again, right? Sextiles are gifts, but we need to take action. If we're not going to take action, if we think about it and it's just in our Gemini mind and we're just analyzing and reanalyzing all the trauma patterns and whatever, we're not moving it through our bodies. We're not taking action. There is no coitus. There is no intercourse that's happening between the two planets because it's just here. It's just inside. It's simmering inside. And with all the Pluto gift and all the Saturn gift and all this Neptune gift that's being in the undercurrent, and Chiron having just been triggered by Mars and Jupiter there, and we have Eris there is that opportunity to reframe how masculine and feminine can be. What protection is. Remember, we talked about Sun entering Cancer. what is protection? How can you feel protected? What is a safe space? How is your masculine actually tending to your feminine by giving it a safe space to create, versus giving it a limiting, constricting reality of, girl, I'm gonna give you the space to create, but here's 5 minutes. Like, what the hell? What am I gonna do in 5 minutes? So allow allow the wound to get the light of day. I mean, stop covering it already if you can. But again, this is just a suggestion. Whatever comes up for you on the 27th, um, there may be a propensity or a feeling of confusion, um, just because Neptune stations retrograde the next day. And there's going to be a whole lot of Pisces action, feeling hopeless or just feeling depressed or down, wanting to escape reality with just going to the dreams and fantasy land. May we invite you to go back to your body where you're wanting to escape to dreams and fantasy. Why? Why? Why is your body wanting to escape again, right? And I feel like this goes home to security again, or not feeling security, or not feeling protection. Yeah, this is, I feel like it's a good day to journal, but I'm being called to say it's a good day to feel where the wound is being triggered, and then ask the next day within the confusion without trying to answer, just allowing the thoughts to flow. I mean, it's Neptune retrograde after all. Just allowing the thoughts to flow and not judging yourself, but just being in the confusion. And just picking up the card that flew again. Just allowing yourself to pick up the pieces when you're ready to pick up the pieces, but not sooner. Again, right? Time is not linear. Don't feel like you're being constricted or limited by the time that you have to heal now. Healing is a lifelong process. So pick it up when you have the energy to pick it up, and not sooner.
Love it. I love that. I have one more practical tip, which is I think I had us journal on the 6th.
Yes.
On 6/6, I think I had us journal and write about our wounds. And so my invitation is revisit what you wrote on the 6th and see if anything has changed. Like Thea said, like you don't need to write, feel into it, and then see what comes through.
Mhm.
You want to add more?
No, I'm actually good for the 27. I touched a bit on Neptune stationing retrograde the next day.
Yes, so that's what I was actually pulling cards for. And a couple jumped, so I'll share them with you.
Yes, please.
But Neptune stationing retrograde. They're all so fit with what you were saying again. It was like, look, he's trying to run away, but what is he trying to run away from? Like the moon's light is shining on him, so he knows that he's trying to get somewhere. And the crow is in front being like, wow, what are you thinking? What are you doing? What are you like? I can imagine it looks like there's nothing going on in his head, but because this crow is right here, this is probably inside his head being like, yo, what's going on? How are you feeling? How are you? Da, 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 da. And the moon's like, yo, start honoring yourself. Where are you going? Where are you rushing off to? And as you were saying, like, what are we escaping from? I had the same conversation with Nats the other day because we went out last weekend and everybody was drinking a lot. And so by effect, we ended up drinking as well a lot. And then I asked him, like, you know, people, a lot of people, right, when they drink a lot, this is not to say that we are doing this or anything, okay? I'm just saying that drinking a lot is partly escapism, right? Whatever it is you're escaping from, partly. And so then it's like, it brings it in, like, what are we escaping from? If everybody's trying to escape and that's why they're drinking, What are we trying to escape from? And can we create our life in a way that we don't need to escape anymore? Because why do we keep escaping? And then why do we keep numbing it and then escaping and then numbing it and then escaping and then numbing it again? Or maybe it's not numbing for you, right? Maybe you actually enjoy the taste of alcohol and you like collecting different kinds of tequila, or you like collecting different kinds of wine, and this is your craft. Maybe this exists. And again, like, I'm not judging you. I am nobody to judge. Like, I am nobody to judge. And so it's just getting curious with yourself, getting curious with your habits, getting curious about, are you trying to escape? If you're not, that's okay. Don't judge yourself, and don't question yourself. Yes, question yourself as in why, but don't question yourself as in, if I say to myself, no, I'm not doing this, don't be like, are you sure? Are you sure you're not doing that? Because then that's the ego, right? The first answer is always your heart. And so how can you listen to that voice of your heart and be like, no, I know what I'm doing tonight. And okay, maybe I gave myself the permission slip tonight that I would slip up, but then I'm going to come back to my program. And this is not only alcohol, this is like routine, like daily routine. Maybe you start your day with a prayer. Maybe you start your day with yoga, maybe with cacao. And then someday you're not able to start it that way. And then your mind starts playing tricks on you, right? Oh, you're feeling this way now because you didn't drink your cacao this morning, which you usually do, and that's what helps you. Or, oh, you're feeling like this now and you're short-tempered because you didn't do your yoga practice this morning. This is like us talking to ourselves, right? Oh, you're feeling like this because you didn't do your yoga this morning, because that's what usually serves you. How can you get out of this and be like, it's okay that you didn't do your yoga practice this morning. How can we make it better right now? How can we enjoy the present moment despite not doing something that we previously told ourselves to do? So it's weird because it's a fine line, because it's like being self-accountable enough, but also not being so hard on ourselves that we start lying to ourselves. Because the last thing we want is us lying to ourselves when we've already been conditioned for so much of our lives. So much of what we hold is already, maybe some of us, maybe not all of us, but so much of what we hold is already not in alignment with where we want to go. So why would we still add to that bucket instead of being like, okay, I see you, self. I know you didn't do that earlier, but it's okay. Let's do something now. Okay, which leads to the oracle cards, which are happier. So this one's more like, put yourself in the light, like figure out what you're doing. Where are you going? What are you trying to do? It's okay if you're trying to do many things, just know what your goal is, because otherwise with this Gemini Aries action, as well as Neptune stationing retrograde, you're going to be lost, and you don't want to be lost. Because really we're never lost, but it's just an illusion of being lost. So many times we're like, oh, I'm lost, I can't find my way. But who told you you were lost? This is my new favorite thing to do, like just switch it and be like, but who told you it's not real? Who told you you're lost? You. And so if you told you that you're lost, you can tell you that you're found. Like, why do we make it so hard? And so this is what the oracle cards say: the courageous peony. Just stand in your light, let yourself be seen. And also, okay, stand in your darkness, let yourself be seen for that too, because it's okay, it's a duality. But also let yourself be seen for your beauty, let yourself be seen for your light. Like, it's okay if not everybody sees your light. It's okay if not everybody appreciates your beauty. It's okay, you're not for everybody, as another card from the same oracle set says, right? You're not for everybody, you're for certain people. You're a vibrational match for certain people. And so just put yourself out there, allow yourself to be seen, and the people that are meant to see you will see you, and the people that see you will actually be such an amazing reflection of you and such a great mirror for your life. And the second card, I have a feeling you're going to love this: the Seven Sisters, which is a card of birth and creation. So unlike Mercury retrograde, Saturn retrograde, and Neptune retrograde, this still allows us to create new projects, like birth new things, do new things. So don't limit yourself because planets are in retrograde. Like we said, these are undercurrents, but they're loud undercurrents. So take them into consideration and then let yourself be seen and start creating things. Start creating. What did you say? This is the year to,
Right.
there we go. This is the year to thrive. And how can you thrive if you don't allow yourself to be seen? But how can you allow yourself to be seen if you don't like who you're seeing?
Mm.
And so this is Cancer, right? How can you come back home? How can you feel at home in your body, in your being, so you can share that? So that when you share that, you find beautiful people like you to collaborate with and create new things.
Mm. Beautiful. Thank you for those cards. I am getting goosies.
Hmm.
We're almost done. We're on the 28th already, and we did say that on the 28th, Neptune stations retrograde. But since March, Neptune has been in shadow. So a lot of people out there are really feeling confused. They're feeling hopeless. They don't know what to do. They feel like they've lost their connection to source, trusting that that's just a planet stationing retrograde, and it's giving a concentration of energy should we attach to that particular archetype. But like Karina said, why can't we question what we're feeling and negate it? Because we hold it, and I said this in one of my posts, we hold the keys to our healing. We also hold the keys to our insanity. We actually hold the keys to everything. And so which door are we actually opening? Because again, we are the key holder. We are the key masters. So open the freaking door to your dreams and be. And I want to share that on the same day that Neptune stations retrograde, Mars sextile Saturn. Here we are again with Mars having sex with Saturn. These they call in traditional astrology as the malefics. I am personally not a fan of judging a planet, whether they're good or they're bad, they're malefic or benefic. I feel like all planets can be benefic or malefic, depending on which archetypes that we attach to. But with Mars, that's drive, that's will, that's passion, having sex with Saturn, maturity, responsibility. This can be an effective and productive time for hard work and innovation amidst the delusion, deception, confusion. Should we, just bite the bullet, take that grit, and create and follow our dreams, regardless of all the limitations and constriction that we feel. This can also be a perfect time to separate from what limits us and be more in our power. We've been talking about we've been talking about Venus a lot, especially since Venus is still in her surrendering phase. Venus as morning star in her surrendering phase. So we are surrendering everything that we are not. So again, relationships, things, meanings, attachments to words, da 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 da. We are surrendering that so that everything that we aspire to be, or at least everything that we should be at this particular phase in time, we can be. We are allowing what needs to go, what needs to shed, so that what needs to flow will come in instead. Ooh. And on the 29th, we have Sun square Jupiter. We're not a fan of squares, but actually I'm a fan of squares. We did say squares, here I am negating myself. We did say squares push you to a corner, so that you don't have a choice but to actually move. But I feel like squares can also be so beneficial just because it's empowering both energies. So my tip here is just beware where we're being overly confident, overly protective of any particular thing, that protection, security that we discovered while we're being enlightened and ascending, where we're attaching so much on security. Because with Neptune retrograde, there is this lesson, and there are actually a lot of planets squaring Neptune as it retrogrades, because it's going to retrograde up until December. It's going to square Mercury, it's going to square Mars, it's going to square Venus. And what I'm getting with the Sun square Jupiter on the 29th before the new moon on Cancer is And this is again gonna be another oxymoron, but you know what? Gemini duality. How can we stand in our confidence and know what we need in terms of security and what we need to feel protected, but at the same time have a sense of detachment so that we have room to flow, we have room to grow? Because we may think that this is what we need to feel confident, this is what we need to feel protective or protected rather. But if we're so super sure and we're stuck and we're set that these are the conditions to make us feel what we want to feel, where is there room for flow? Where is there room to grow? We wouldn't know what can come if we are attached to this. So maybe for this day where we're feeling overly da 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 da, we can not negate, but just witness. Is there an opportunity or a gift somewhere else that we're not seeing? Because Jupiter is still a bearer of gifts. And with sun shining that light, albeit it's a frustrating aspect, it can only be frustrating if we're stuck or if we don't want to let go of a particular perspective. So yeah.
Right on. I pulled a fail. I love it. Yeah. So, like you said, that day we have Sun square Jupiter, new moon in Cancer, and Venus sextile Jupiter. So Venus and Jupiter are having sex. I like that one a lot. That sounds like a really, really nice aspect. Of course, I would. I have Jupiter in my first house, and I'm pretty much Venus ruled. But this is so the players on this day are Aries, Cancer, and Gemini. So you can already tell that there is watery love, mothery love, womb energy, which could also be the void. And then there is also Aries energy, which could be your power, or could be people keep telling me to do this. I don't want to do this. I'm over this. I'm so tired. Why do people keep telling me what I need to do? Or I know who I am. I know my time is my own. I know how I want to live. Guess what? I'm going to start loving myself so freaking holy so that I can start living that life. Because that's all it takes, right? Waking up to that, realizing that, and being like, that's the life I want. So that's the life that I'm going to live. Like, doesn't got to be so hard. Of course, it's a case to case basis. Maybe you're stuck in a job. Maybe you don't have the resources. Maybe there's so many maybes. But if you know that old saying, if there is a will, there is a way. So if you want something enough, know that you have the tools it takes to make it happen. Because oftentimes what happens is we're just underestimating ourselves. We're undervaluing ourselves. We actually have everything that it takes, but we're saying we don't. And so how can you embrace this Jupiter sextile Venus and know that you have everything that it takes? Because you know your values, you know what you live by. Sun is squaring Jupiter, but even when Sun squares Jupiter, like this is not a bad square. This is a beautiful square because you're getting access into your expansiveness, but you're only able to see this expansiveness when you allow it to shine through. You're only allowing your tribe to see this expansiveness when you allow yourself to see this expansiveness. And I pulled cards for this day. Of course, they're both related to the mother. So the first one is earth pulsing, pulse of the mother, slow down, time and nature. And of course, right, birth as a canal, water, womb energy. And this second one is birth as a portal, mother's milk, and deep love, we the halflings. And so this kind of shows me that, you know, as we've discussed, we've got everything that it takes to step into our dream lives, but then we got to see ourselves. But we can't see ourselves if we don't think that we're worthy of it. And we can't see ourselves if we don't think that we're deserving of it. Because we were told when we were young, you don't deserve that. That's not worth it. You don't deserve that. Oh, you deserve that. Oh, I hope you receive what you deserve. you know? And so how can you like reframe, reword, like what does deserve even mean? And who is anyone to tell you what you deserve? You tell you what you deserve, you tell you what you're worth. Because when you do that, you're showing yourself an act of rebellious love, right? You're saying, I know that people told me that I don't deserve this, but they are other people. I am me. I'm living in my body. And if I tell me that I see me and I'm deserving and I'm worth it, then the Gemini computer program goes on overdrive and is like, okay, create, create, create. Tell me everything you want to create. I'll help you put it into structure. I'll help you put it into structure. That's what happens. Like it feels, sounds, and everything that's coming to me right now is just like this waterfall. It's like if you just allow, there's so much that wants to flow. But if you're putting a blockage there, then it's not going to flow. And another thing to be aware of is sometimes when we're woke, right, we feel like we always need to be tuned in, we always need to be channeling, we always need to be receiving something, we always need to be prepared. um, but here's an invitation to flow. And I'm saying this based on my own personal experience because today I had plans to like get on this on my laptop with my notes, all of this. And then I tried to plug in my charger, 10 minutes before our call, and my charger wouldn't work for the first time ever. And so then I was like, all right, got to get this iPad that's dead, bring it to life, download Zoom. And it's all just a trip, right? Life is a trip. So how can you witness that life is a trip, and as we're going to through this trip, like still love yourself through the process and love every single minute of it? Like I could have been pissed and I could have been like, oh my god, I have no idea what I'm going to say now because I can't flow. But then I can be like, you know what? I'm just going to pick up on every little nugget that's coming my way and make something out of it. Because at the end of the day, when we allow flow, when we allow ourselves to do that, we're tuning into exactly what needs to come through. But when we're preparing, sometimes, that gets us out of the moment. When we're preparing for a future moment, that gets us out of the current past moment, which then becomes the past. And really, I feel like the biggest thing with this Cancer Taurus medicine, as well as Gemini, which is teaching us in such a different way, is presence. Be present with yourself. Understand the Gemini duality, but that doesn't mean you have to escape the duality. Be present with it. Spend time in nature. Spend time with your mom. Spend time with the water. If you're religious, spend time with Mother Mary. Or if you relate more to Eastern stuff, spend time with Lakshmi or Durga or Parvati. Like there are so many things that we can connect. If you're into like Greek mythology, spend time with the Greek gods. Whatever it is for you, connect to Isis, connect to Athena, connect to Aphrodite. Like whatever it is, they're all the same at their core. And that's what I believe. All of this like feminine energy at their core has the same signature that they're radiating out. And so if you can't find that within yourself, connect with one of these. And like we said through this, like everyone is just mirrors, everything is just mirrors. So in connecting with them, you're opening up so that you're able to see what's reflected to you by them, but that's actually like you and them together. It's all one. Neptune retrograde in Pisces. This is what I'm feeling. Yeah, they want to take us into the next day.
We do. This is actually the last day with the transit. So that's Sun conjunct Lilith and Cancer. I think I'm just going to latch on to what Karina said as a practical tip. Connect with the mother archetype. Because Lilith and Cancer, again, these are the same themes of what makes you feel protected, what makes you feel mothered, how are you nurturing, as well as how do you want to feel nurtured. And yeah, we do want to leave this for our new moon ceremony on Cancer. I prepared, and I can share with you. I'm preparing a small ritual where it's called, you were saying, fitting yourself in a pouch. Our ritual of healing are 9 months in gestation, as a sacred ceremony for healing the mother wound. And I'm just not referring to our physical mothers, but also the wound that we are perpetuating with Pachamama and Mother Nature and the mother archetype. So we're really looking forward to see you in our new moon ceremony. And yeah, we're going to create a womb pouch as we connect to our wounds and we connect to the mothers within and the mothers without. But I feel like the next, just to summarize, like the second half of June is really about understanding what protection means, what security means, what values are we really here aligning with. But I feel like the values alignment and the sovereignty we've been saying since January, and that's really a theme that's building up until October. um, no, actually that's a theme that's going to keep playing up until July next year, just because the nodes are in Taurus and Scorpio. So it's really about security and values, and the meanings that we attach to it. But yeah, I hope
um,
you got practical tips. Did you pull a card?
I did. I pulled a card. I tried to pull a card, but 3 cards fell out, just to summarize our whole thing. But I just want to say for Sun conjunct Lilith, that's closing exactly how we opened. Like, take up the space that you deserve because you deserve it. Um, and and allow yourself to go at things the way it feels right to you. Why do I say this? Cancer is the crab. The crab goes at things sideways. It doesn't go directly to the thing, it goes to the thing sideways. And so figure out how you get to things, figure out how you uncover things, figure out what makes it okay for you to be out of your shell. Figure out what it means to protect your shell so fiercely, but while you're out of your shell, you're still so protected so fiercely because of how much you know your worth. That to me is Lilith conjunct Sun in Cancer. Now, beautiful cards fell out for this wrap up. So I'm loving this. The first card that fell out is the Magician. You have the tools, but like you were saying, if you don't feel protected, if you don't feel like you have what it takes, this is the journey of picking up all those tools. Say, oh, okay, that wand, I need that wand. Okay, this breath work, I need this breath work. Okay, this yoga practice, this will help me. Oh, strength training, yeah, maybe I need that. So pick up whatever it is that you need, because this is like building your toolbox. When you're building your toolbox, then you feel more confident about yourself and more confident showing up for yourself. So it's either you have the tools and you're already able to work with them, so start working with them. Or if you're feeling like, oh, I don't know how to work with them yet, pick up the tools so that it's easier for you once you start working to weave in different things. Second card, King of Pentacles. Learn to work with the earth energy. Pentacles is earth or money or foundation or currency. King has mastered how to work with it. Sometimes he's stoic and sometimes he's just so rich that he doesn't care, right? But how can you instead, this one is not stoic though, the main one's stoic, but he looks happy, like look at him. He's happy because he's understanding that once he understands his, this is my perception, obviously, once he understands his definition of currency, then that currency is able to take a whole different form and it starts shining because like that's it, that's currency, and he knows what it is to him, and so he becomes so embodied in currency. So if for us, like, currency is consciousness, we see that that's what currency to us, and we become so embodied in our consciousness, that like in the process everyone around us kind of feels those ripples, and they're starting to have thoughts of consciousness even though they haven't even worked on their like what's the word, even though they haven't even worked
on their consciousness.
on their consciousness. It's really a ripple effect, right? We don't know it, but how we're feeling is really playing out in other people's lives based on our aura, based on how we show up. Which leads me to the next card. So how can we make our aura be that of the sun? How can we make it be so bright that anybody that comes our way receives this light? Downside of the sun, pride, overly prideful that, ooh, my aura is so beautiful, come spend time with me. I guess there's nothing wrong with that because that means you have a beautiful aura, but how can you just be more humble? How can you understand that you're light, but your purpose of being light is so that you can light up other lights, right? It's not that I'm light and I want you all to love me, that's why I'm light. No, it's I'm light, and because I have this torch here, let's come together. Let me light all of your torches so that when we put all our torches together in the middle, guess what we make? A bonfire. And let's just bring in the Aries archetype, right? If we start with Aries, we're working with a match. One person sparks the match. All right, anyone have a torch? Here, one person brings the torch. Okay, then we all bring each other torches. We all light it together. And then we have the Sag fire where we just had the Sag full moon a couple of days ago. But yeah, that just felt like sun energy to me. And so it's so fitting that we end this with like, look at her, okay? She's
And it's the
dancing on the
summer
grass.
solstice. That's
Yeah,
the peak
exactly.
of sunlight.
Exactly. And she's so happy to be receiving the light that she is from the sun because she knows that the sun is part of her, the earth is part of her, the water is part of her, and the wind is part of her. She knows that she is nature and nature is her. And when she steps into it, that's what actually makes her capable of turning on all these lights around her.
Beautiful, beautiful card. Beautiful, beautiful spread to end.
Right? Those were good.
Really good. To end June on a high note. So with that, I hope you are able to receive what your soul needs at this time. Be the light that you are. Shine, shine, shine. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll
See you.
see you in part 1 of July. We're already looking forward to it. Thank you, Thea. You are awesome. I love flowing through these with you. It's always such a treat.
And with you, my gosh. Excited to see you guys first part of July. Until then, be kind.
See you at the New Moon Circle.
Yes. Healing then. Bye.
Bye.